What makes you an entrepreneur is that you took that and you ran with it. And I mean, look at all the conversations you've had with these successful people that want to give you advice, regardless of their mindset of wanting to be involved, financially or partnership or equity wise. That means you have something good. But I just wanted to talk about the mindset that you pretty much had from just making it by yourself at home to putting it into your restaurant, nothing coming from it, from one conversation that you had. And then now look where it's at.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the 1% Podcast. I'm your host, Vin, and
I'm Shane.
And today we're joined by our mutual friend, Joe. Welcome to the show.
Yo, good to be here.
So we heard what you were doing is extremely exciting. I don't know what to say. I was very blown away by the concept you've taken and how you're trying to make things new. So I'm really, really excited for you to get into it. Tell the listeners a bit of your story, what you're building, what you're excited about, and I'll leave it to you. Go ahead.
All right. I don't know about you guys, but I was one of those kids that grew up on Nesquik. I was just like a little Nesquik addict. And it was a really sad day when, I grew up and started to read labels and kind of just looked at what was in there and came to the realization that I just really should not be drinking this stuff anymore, and I couldn't put it in my body. Not to mention I was just feeling like shit after drinking it. So that's when I started looking everywhere for an alternative that was both healthier and cleaner, but also tasted good, and just like had no luck. And I wasn't being picky here. It didn't matter what kind of milk it was. I would try dairy alternatives or dairy, different almond, whatever, everything under the sun. I just couldn't find anything good. And then finally, this like decades passed. I'm aging myself, but finally during COVID, I was stuck in quarantine. I was bored out of my mind, which is always a recipe for disaster. So I ended up being I just need to figure out how to do this myself. So I knew we had a Vitamix, and I was like, I know you can make nut milk with this. Let's just figure this out. And so I, went in the pantry. My favorite type of milk of all has always been cashews. There's just something about it's such a rich, creamy nut. It makes such a good base for a milk. So grabbed the cashews and a few other ingredients, some cocoa, some dates. And really, to be honest, I was not expecting this to work. I was just messing around. I was like, I got nothing better to do. Let's try this. Threw it in the Vitamix. You just turn it on and pulverize the shit out of it. Makes this nice creamy milk. And tried it. And to my shock and surprise, I was like, oh, this is actually good. So, I invited a friend over and I was like, hey, Brooke, you gotta try this. And I just hand her a cup, and thank God she trusts me, because she was just like, oh, okay, chugs it. And then she was like, wait, you made this? And I was like, right? We were both like, can't believe this worked. And, shared it with a few other people that were just like, this is so good. So we're like, okay, interesting. What should we do? So we, it turns out I actually own a restaurant here as well. So we're like, hey, why don't we just, put in a bottle and throw it on the shelf of the restaurant and just see what happens. So, the funniest next step was we were like, well, where do you even buy just blank bottles, and how many do you have to buy? And I remember finding a provider, and they're like, okay, you can buy them in bulk, but it's the min order is 500 bottles. And I was like, 500 bottles? What are you going to do with 500 bottles of cashew milk? But we just said, yeah, fuck it, let's go for it. And then we're like, I guess we need labels. So we just printed up these stickers, and it's literally at that point that I was just like, shit, okay, I need a name. And I was like, what's funny words with nut? And of course, the first thing that comes to mind is Nutcase, because may have been called that a few times in my life. So we just printed those up, threw them on, made it, threw it on the shelf at the restaurant, and it just flew off the shelf. And we're like, interesting. So, made another batch, flew off the shelf. We're like, okay, this is really cool. And then we started experimenting with different flavors. So we made a vanilla milk as well. And in our first iterations, we also made a coffee and a peanut butter. Oh. And all of those were just a hit. And The other thing that really kind of just made a light bulb come off was that we started to have other retailers and restaurants coming into our restaurant, and they're like, who's your supplier? Where are you getting this drink from? Because they're like, we want to have it at our place. And we're like, oh, like they didn't realize like we were just making it in the back, and it was just like our side quest kind of thing. So that's when we kind of were like, knew maybe we were onto something. And that's when, of course, like I'm, one of those serial entrepreneurs. So that's when I started going, okay, let me research this. And then like just did all this analysis, did all this research, and realized like there's a massive gap here. There's a massive opportunity to take on Nesquik. Like no one's doing it in that big of a way, but also to do it with a nut milk, but not very strategically, not pigeonholing ourselves to just the like vegan, vegetarian kind of market. We wanted to, because one of the biggest pieces of feedback we got was that people who would never drink nut milk were loving it. And that to us was like, that was the key, was like, we don't want it to just be isolated. So we essentially just said like, let's go for it. Let's figure out how to scale this thing, but let's do so with a cool brand that can stand out. Like that was the other component of it, is to try to make a nut milk and a chocolate milk cool and more adult. So there was just so many areas where we knew we could differentiate ourselves. So that's where the journey began, but it was still, at this point, it was mid-COVID. So like trying to get anything done or find a co-packer or whatever was just like impossible. So we actually kind of just spun our wheels for like about a year, just not getting anywhere. And it was so frustrated to the point where I kind of just shelved the idea and was like, I don't know, like this is not happening. Fast forward to a trip to Vegas where all the good things happen. And we're literally at brunch at Catch at Aria with some friends one morning, and they asked me, they're like, what's this like chocolate milk I keep seeing on your Instagram? It looks so good. And so I explained to them the whole story of how I see this opportunity for it, but we're just kind of stuck. We don't know what to do with it. And they're like, no, like this is awesome. You need to do this. And I was like, yeah, I'm trying, but like it didn't get anywhere. And that's when they happened to tell me that, and these are friends I've known for a little while, and they're like, oh, by the way, we have a VC fund that backs CPG companies. And I was like, wait, what? Like, where'd that come from? They're like, we have, there's one brand in our portfolio, Mescla bars. Like, you should talk to the founder, Griff. He probably, can help you out. They have this awesome ops team that can probably help make some connections. So I was like, oh, okay, like, cool. At this point, I still wasn't sure how serious they were, but I remember leaving that brunch and they joked, they're like, okay, if this happens, like we'll make the intro. If this happens though, you have to let us in the first round. And I was like, yeah, of course. Yeah. And then fast forward, that's like exactly what happened is they introduced me to Griff, who introduced me to David. And then like we found a formulator, found a co-packer, like everything just started to happen. And it started to happen so fast. They were like, holy shit, like, okay, I guess we're doing this, because we just kind of dove in. That was a very long story.
That was a phenomenal story. So how long ago from when you packaged everything to, and I'm curious on the shelf life of it too. And then so from that to where you're at now, and as far as promoting it, what are you guys doing it right now?
So let's touch on the shelf life first. That was a key component. So when we were initially just making it fresh, it only had about a week of shelf life. I was like, oh, that's not scalable. So that was the first kind of task with our formulator, was coming up with a new recipe and figuring out what process we could do to make it shelf stable. So it now is shelf stable and has about a year of shelf life. And you can store it not refrigerated. So that obviously is key for shipping and distribution and logistics and all this stuff. The second part, of course, so we did our R&D, we had a product, or we had at least an initial product to test, and we started with just the chocolate. And this is when we had our first samples back from R&D. I'm like, let's start sharing it with some people to get some feedback. Obviously, always the first step. So this is when I actually, totally random, but through poker, I know Phil Hellmuth, and we were just, one day something happening. He called me, we caught up, and he was like, what are you up to? And I was like, I have this chocolate milk thing. And he was like, I love chocolate milk. And I was like, oh, awesome. He's like, send me some. And I was like, okay, cool. So I sent him some of the early samples. He tried it and he was like, I love this. Like, I want to invest and help advise. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, cool, let's go. So he came on board, and then his first piece of advice was like, or tip, he was like, hey, why don't we send some to Ninja? And I was like, that's so random, but yeah, okay. He had just played a big poker game in LA with Ninja, Mr. Beast, and Ludwig, and a bunch of other streamers. So him and Tyler had hit it off and kept in touch. So he's like, yeah, I'll text him right now. So he sends a group text to Tyler, and he immediately is like, yeah, it sounds cool. Like, I like chocolate milk. Send me some. So I send him some. He gets it. He tries it. He loves it. We jump on a call. He's super interested. He's like, this is really cool. Like, I'd love to be involved. And at that point, we're like, okay. So like, I was like, oh, he's serious. So we decided like, okay, if we're going to work together, we should at least, we got to meet in person and make sure like we get along and all this stuff. So I jumped on a flight to go have dinner with him, which was really funny because I remember I'm not a big gamer myself, but my husband is. And I knew of him, but more on a high level. So I remember telling my husband, like, so like I got to fly to Florida for dinner with Ninja. And he was like, wait, what? And he's like, how does that happen? And like, can I come? And I was like, not this one, but maybe next time. And they did end up meeting, and now they're good friends, and that's all cool. But it was just like the most random chain of events. And then we had dinner, immediately hit it off. It just, yeah, we were immediately just joking about everything, to the point where like at the end of like a 2-hour dinner, we're like, oh shit, like we probably should talk business. So I was like, oh, so like, are you in, or are we doing this? He's like, oh, we're doing this. And I was like, oh, okay. So like, have you thought about like what you want? He's like, whatever, I'm good. And I was like, okay, well, that's cool. Like, you're super chill, but the lawyers are going to want a little bit more details than like whatever. So we just kind of, I had done some research as well to like think through some numbers and stuff and what we would offer him. And he was good with it. So then of course the actually dealing with the lawyers was a lot more complicated, but between us, everything's chill.
So you have Ninja, you got Helmuth. I mean, it's pretty much the dream team here as far as video games and poker, as far as, building that influencer marketing right now. So is this product available to purchase right now? How can I get my hands on this?
Yeah, so we initially launched our Shopify website, going straight D2C. We wanted that initial direct connection with the consumers. We wanted to get feedback. So we launched that site with just chocolate at first, and then we added vanilla, and then we added strawberry. Which
one's your favorite, by the way?
This is unpopular opinion. So my favorite's vanilla.
Oh.
But the chocolate's the most popular. It's the classic one, but strawberry probably has like the most passionate, like little cult following. I think strawberry might actually catch up to chocolate in the next few weeks. But yeah, then we launched on GoPuff, and now, as I kind of alluded to just a little bit earlier, we are literally just gearing up, launching our Amazon and our TikTok shop.
That's awesome. I mean, you're essentially hitting all platforms here. So I didn't want to say this in the beginning, but I have actually tried Nutcase, and Joe only had one can left. And this can was beat up. It's like it's been on 12 flights with her. And I'm like, okay, what is this? And as soon as I opened it up, it still had the shh. And as soon as you pour it, you could actually see the silkiness that's coming out. I poured it over a little bit of ice. I let it rest for like 30, 45 seconds. And then I don't think it took me more than 2 minutes to actually finish the whole thing. It was creamy. It was delicious and silky. And the crazy thing is it actually tasted like chocolate milk. When you think about the flavors profiles of dates and obviously cocoa powder and cashews, you're like, this doesn't add up. Where's all the processed sugar? Where's this? Is no way this is going to happen. And shockingly enough, with you playing around with a Vitamix, you have figured out a healthier version of Nesquik that's way better and doesn't give you that terrible aftertaste and after feeling of drinking it. So I personally am a big fan of Nutcase, and I'm following their Instagram and following their journey, and I'm very excited to see where you guys go to next. I just wanted to throw that comment out there, as I know
Appreciate it. That's all. Love
it's been a Shane and Joe show right now, so I wanted to throw some Vin in there too. But
Oh, so you're not doing a solo episode today? Okay.
I'm just excited and passionate for Joe. I'm
No,
can't wait
no.
to see this journey.
Listen, we're nuts for Nutcase. I get it. So my thoughts or my questions, I always love getting into the psychology. You know, as our podcast is really geared towards people who want to build businesses or are building businesses, I think it's always really important to pull out some of the information because success leaves clues. And I guess some of the curiosity I've had is how have you currently been building this, and what obstacles have you faced that you've had to overcome? And was it a mindset thing? Was it a skill thing? Was it a people thing? What were some obstacles that you really had to consider to grow, I guess, over?
I'll be honest, probably the biggest one, and this is ongoing, and I definitely am getting better at it and learning from it, but this is a new industry to me, and I'm the one thing I'm good at. I know what I don't know, and I'm not afraid to kind of ask for advice or try to get smarter people around the table. The challenge with CPG and Bev, maybe specifically, is there's no playbook, and everybody has different advice. So I'm like, I'll talk to one person that is really smart, really respect, and they're like, oh yeah, you should totally do this, and I'm like, okay, cool, like, and then talk to the next person, like, no, don't do that, do this, and you're like, okay. So over the past, like, not quite a year, but like, I've gotten so much different advice, and I've had to just kind of go, okay, take it all in, and then just understand how it applies to our circumstance, our situation, our unique set of advantages, and then knowing which ones, like, how to adapt it to us and what to go after for us. Because on any given day, depending who you ask, they will either tell you, for instance, focus online first, build your brand awareness, which is what we're doing, what my initial gut was saying, and then go to retail. Then you talk to the next person, they're like, no, beverage is too expensive to ship. The economics aren't great online, so you should really just focus on retail. And I'm like, well, which is it? And like, we flip-flopped a bit the first year because I was like, I wasn't sure. But now, I've just gone like with our situation, with the people we have on board, with Phil and Ninja. And then recently, or just as we launched a strawberry, we, through poker again, got to know Steve Aoki. And when he tried the strawberry, he was like, this is my jam. He loved it so much. So he came on board. So with that base, and obviously I'm more comfortable and more familiar with the e-com side of things. My husband's one of the founders of Shopify. And then we also, with these new channels that just have the potential to go massively viral, like TikTok Shop. And a funny story about that, because I didn't know this was happening, nor did they orchestrate this together. But I get an email from TikTok one day, and they're like, who are you? Like, what is going on? I'm like, well, what do you mean? And they're like, I just got an email, like back-to-back emails from Ninja's guy and from Aoki's guy, both being like, hey, we're working with Nutcase. You guys should like be all over this brand. And they're like, I was like, really? That's so funny. So that obviously made us look like way bigger than we were. And they're like, who are you? Like, we want to work with you. So just the fact that with TikTok now we have, dedicated people high up at TikTok helping us out. Plus I around the same time got introduced to and befriended, a couple of other CPG brands that are absolutely crushing it on TikTok, like Neurogum and Final Boss Sour. And just being able to learn from those guys or do collabs with them and stuff like that, all of a sudden you kind of go like, I'm in a unique position to have all of these advantages. I'd be crazy not to double down on them. So these things just present themselves, and you have to kind of look at like, what is my situation? What gives us an edge? Okay, like these are the places where we're uniquely qualified to crush it. So that's where we're going to go. And then the last item that I'll kind of hint at here without being able to say too much, but, and Shane knows about this, is we Nutcase is going to be featured on a show that will be launched, streamed, and promoted heavily by X. And it's a show that will kind of features 3 startup founders. We're the only CPG brand. And they're also very keen to have a female founder, especially given that the CEO of X, Linda Yaccarino, being like a badass female leader. So the show, the really cool twist with it, I guess, is it's best way to kind of explain it is like somewhat like Shark Tank meets Apprentice. But the big twist is viewers can invest while the show is airing. So what I just loved about that is it really actually gives fans like an unprecedented access to invest alongside all of these, VCs and investors and celebrities that we have on board. And it really allows us to really engage our audience and talk about ambassadors at this point, or if they want to, they can now actually have skin in the game. And that I think is going to be just like another massive benefit for us. So we're just focusing on that. And then the idea is like, okay, why don't I just focus on building that first, building our fan base, our audience, our brand awareness, and then taking that and leveraging that to go to a major retailer. Because if you go in without anything, well, 2 things. One, you have no leverage and they're just going to gouge you on shelving and slotting fees and stuff. But also you only get 1 shot to get on the shelf. And if you're not moving because you don't have enough brand presence yet, then, you're done. So that's, took a lot of conversations to get here, but to answer your question, it's just like getting so much conflicting advice and knowing when to just go stop and just trust your instincts and make the call.
I was going to actually, funny enough, I was about to ask another question along the lines of what's one thing that you know now that you wish you knew when you started, but it sounds like that might have been the answer unless there's something else.
I mean, it feels like I'm still every day, you're still like learning. I wish I didn't waste so much time feeling like I'm like getting bounced back and forth. But I don't regret any of it because you learn. But
yeah, I think that's a big part of it. When we're new, we're seeking information. And I think we forget that so often your best teacher is going to be experience, right? Like we want the mentors, we want the coaches, we want everybody that could give us a piece of advice. And you kind of realize that most of them are just giving you advice, not even from a playbook, but from their personal experience. And that's why it's always conflicting, because what worked for that guy, like I could give you a personal experience. For instance, I had a team that I was working with help me run ads. And they were like, oh, we run ads for Tony Robbins. We've run ads for Jay Shetty. We've run ads for other coaches that are exactly like you. And we've done 7 figures in ads. So I'm like, great. And they give me the copy. They give me the everything. They're like, this specific copy and this specific ad format has got this guy 8 figures. I was like, spectacular. That ad copy got me 0 figures. And it's always funny. So it's cool that you're learning to step more into your desire to have experiential learning. I think every founder, would you agree that every founder needs to get to a point where you figure out your experience, your specific uniqueness, and then double down on that?
Yeah, exactly. Especially what makes you uniquely qualified or gives you an edge in any way, and double down on that versus and I've always known, but it's been more true in the past year, I think, to take everything with a grain of salt and understand why that worked for them. But not only does everybody have a different trajectory, but either it's been done before, so it won't work again because it's that playbook's been played out, or just the speed at which things are changing. Every year, it's the new channel dominates. People say D2C is dead. People say D2C is back. Things just Facebook changing their algorithm can make it better or worse. All of a sudden, you used to be able to get much better ROAS and now it's not. So things are constantly changing. So it's not even necessarily realistic that someone could have built a $1 billion beverage brand 5 years ago. It's a different world. It's a different market. And that's not even taking into account macroeconomic, realities.
Go ahead, Shane. Go.
Just a comment here for our listeners. This Facebook was designed from a 2-minute phone conversation with his roommate at the time. I mean, you hear about all these amazing multi-billion, trillion, $1 million ideas from a phone call, from a brief conversation. What makes you an entrepreneur is that you took that and you ran with it. And I mean, look at all the conversations you've had with these successful people that want to give you advice, regardless of their mindset of wanting to be involved, financially or partnership or equity wise. That means you have something good. But I just wanted to talk about the mindset that you pretty much had from just making it by yourself at home to putting it into your restaurant, nothing coming from it, from one conversation that you had. And then now look where it's at. This is how it is. Mm-hmm. So listeners, if you have a good idea and you wanted to share it with somebody, I guess that's it too. That's a great question. If Phil didn't say this is great, do you think you would be where you're at today? Do you think you would have continued down this path? Do you think you needed that reassurance from somebody like Phil? I'm very curious on that, actually.
I think it's the other way around, is you keep going and those things happen. Like, I just always keep making noise, putting it out there, and magically I get lucky and these guys just like find out about it and come in. Magic. But that doesn't happen if I don't keep going. So I was listening to a podcast the other day with Toby, who's the founder of or CEO of Shopify. And he said one line that I really resonated with me. And that was like, creativity is great. Like, that's important. And like, I'm very creative, and there's people who are very creative. But the most underestimated or even just like underappreciated component or piece of that is courage. Because it takes tons of people have ideas, but the amount of courage that it takes to actually pursue that, take the risks, risk failure, risk embarrassment, take, the responsibility of taking investors' money and then like the stress of that, the pressure of it, of taking that risk, like that takes so much courage. And I think people don't appreciate it. They just think this like founder life is so glamorous or whatever. I feel like that's the biggest piece that most people are not respecting, is like, it takes a shit ton of guts. And there's moments where you're like, why the fuck do I do this to myself? But the founders are the ones that do it. So
very well said.
Were you always somebody who was entrepreneurial minded, or did you have to grow into and or build this person?
I always was, but I didn't realize it till I was early 20s, till my first startup. It's one of those things where like after the fact, you're like, oh yeah, this kind of adds up. Like these little signs like, oh, I never fit in. I always kind of just went against the grain. Always had to be fixing everything. So sorry, I'm kind of glitching here, but this is my fourth startup. And I kind of the other component is I learned that I'm not a good employee, and I can't really work for people because I have too much of my own ideas. So yeah, I think that's definitely just like in my nature.
Interesting. And what does it take to, I guess, start multiple businesses? How does it take resources? Does it take an idea? Does it take a bit of everything? Like what have you found has been one of the most successful things to be I guess what we would call you as a multi-time founder? I
think it goes back to what I was saying before, is courage, because I've had successes and I've had failures, and getting up after the failure is it's tough. But I do think some people are better than others, perhaps, at like spotting opportunities and finding creative solutions. I think and then building a brand around it. I think that's something maybe that that's one thing that I'm probably best at, actually. And then being the other piece that's probably underrated is that you then have to rally people around you and somehow build a team to make this happen. And again, that's one of the things that I'm best at, is like, okay, I have this idea, this thought, this brand. How do I get everybody on board?
How do you get people on board? What is the key formula or the success strategy to getting people to invest and to believe in the vision and want to be a part of it?
Honestly, it just has to, like, it has to be a good opportunity. So like people are like, oh, you can't sell someone if like there's nothing to be sold. But I have a strong enough vision for it. I can explain what the opportunity is. Like it's logical, but also I'm passionate about it, and we build something and build a brand that people can get excited about. So when it's a great idea and you can get people excited about it and you're excited about it, then it's funny because I just realized like it's not like you're asking, almost feels like you're asking like, what's your formula? I'm like, I don't know. Like it's so authentic and organic to me that like I just do it so naturally that I have a hard time explaining how I do it. I just share it with people and they get hyped and they're like, shit, this is cool. Like I want to join.
I think that's one of the better answers though, right? Like I only ask because some people do have a formula. Some people tell you, well, I go and hire these people, they make me a really, really nice pitch deck. Then I work with my speaking coach so that I can learn how to storytell properly and make sure that I hit all the key points with the personal story, the teaching moment, and the tool for how to execute. And then from there, I do X, Y, and Z. But some people, like yourself, just get really, really excited. They get passionate. They feel the energy. They believe in the product. And correct me if I'm wrong, I've worked with a lot of startups. I've helped people raise money. And one of the biggest things that I've seen time and time again is that people will invest in the product because they like the product. But more than anything, they're actually investing in the founder. They're investing in the belief that you're this capable person that's passion driven, that's going to make it happen. And even if you don't make it happen, you'll figure out how to make it happen on another iteration. And I've seen that time and time again. When you ask these people, what are you really investing in? What are you doing? It's not just the business, it's the person. Would you agree or disagree?
100%. Especially, after what I just said of what it takes. And like, you need a shit ton of grit and perseverance. You have to be a little bit crazy. I also know that to connect with people, I just try to be very open and real. And that's probably served me better than anything. It almost sounds like a cliche buzzword now to say authentic. I don't like that word. I'm just being real. That's probably something that luckily over time I've gotten more comfortable with. But you realize you just connect so much better with people if you're just like, don't filter yourself, just say the shit. They're gonna be so much more comfortable if you're just like the first one to just say something ridiculous or like very candid or whatever it might be. Just connect on a deeper level. I don't do these like superficial high level bullshit presentations.
I love that. Well, I guess, you said being authentic and genuine and just speaking from your heart. What do you find is one of the biggest things that really does drive connection? Obviously, all of that stuff is massively important. Do you think that it needs to be this mutualness where people are both willing to be open? And then to your point, how do you really open up people? Is it just by sharing your own personal experience, or do you feel that there's another way to go about building that rapport and connection?
That's how I do it. Basically, kind of try to lead by example and be super open. I also I can't stand small talk. So if we get stuck in that, I'm going to check out real quick. So either I'll say something jarring just to get a reaction, or just, I don't know, it's gonna happen. Yeah.
I love it. Well, Shane, do you have anything over there? Because we're getting close to the end. I want to make sure if you have anything else before we start wrapping it, that you get your thoughts out.
I'm really excited to try the other flavors. And I think it's a huge pro that you're definitely buying into the founder, into the visionary here. But it's a huge pro that you have a badass product. It really is. And I kind of feel that it awesome. Speaks for itself.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to jump off after here and figure out how I can order those too. So I guess that's where I want to go next. Is where can I buy it right now?
Right now, your best bet is drinknutcase.com. If you have GoPuff, you can also jump on GoPuff. It is live now on TikTok Shop. We're just spinning that up. And by end of week, it'll be on Amazon as well. So you got all the options at your fingertips.
Awesome.
By the time it gets out, Amazon and TikTok will be the number ones, or drinknutcase.com which is, I'm ordering a couple cases right now. So you're
Amazing.
going to see my address coming in, Joe. And I'd like it if you could sign one of my bottles if for some reason, I know it's not distributed in there, but I'm going to take a picture of my cases.
We'll hook it up next time I'm in Vegas.
That sounds good.
I love it. I'm going to have to grab a case too. I don't know about Nesquik, but I used to drink, what were those? Yoo-hoos. I used to drink
Yes.
Yoo-hoos every week, man. I love bacon, egg, and cheese, which is a signature staple in New York. And then you get a Yoo-hoo because you got to wash it down with something. That was my childhood, or at least a part of my teenage years, I should say. So I haven't drank Yoo-hoo in years. I have zero intention to introduce my daughter to Yoo-hoo, but maybe we could have a little family go with the Nutcase.
Yeah, I mean that's been like the cool thing as well is this is where I stuck to my guns as well. Early on, people were like, "Oh, it's chocolate milk. Shouldn't you be targeting kids and maybe make the packaging a little bit more, child friendly or whatever?" I was like, "No, this is the point." I'd be like, I have a almost 3-year-old right now. I was like, "You need to reverse psychology that shit. Anything I try to feed him, he won't touch. Whatever he thinks looks like cool and adult, he wants." So it's like it's actually more of like a parent hack to get your kids to drink healthy nut milk, and they're going to think it's cool and like they're cheating or something. So
yeah, well, it's actually really interesting too, because I think we're all around the same age, and I have a daughter who's 2, but she'll be 3 real soon. And it is funny because I found that a lot of companies, the best marketing that they're doing is to people our age who are looking for nostalgia. Because as we're getting to this point, we're in our 30s and our 40s, we want to start feeling what it was like to be back in our teens. And the hottest way to market that is like, hey, guess what? This thing you did when you were 13, right here in front of you, come do it again. And now we get to experience it. And then if we're cool parents, like we all are, we want to share our thing that we thought was really cool with our kids. And now you're hitting 2 generations. So I think that is a smart play.
Yeah, for me, and right now, what I use it when I drink it the most is it's almost like that comfort late night sweet fix where like I'll go for that, and it's just like it's great. Usually I'm working, getting a few more emails in. I can have that next to me, and it's infinitely better than going for like the pint of ice cream or something. So it's something that can satisfy my sweet fix, give me a little dose of nostalgia, but I don't feel like shit about it after. And that's one big use case. And then the other one that I want to touch on actually quick, and I don't know if you remember like 10, 15 years ago, there was a massive marketing campaign push for like chocolate milk after sports as like a recovery drink.
Really?
The like milk association went ham on it. And that kind of fizzled out because then people were like, well, not with all the sugar and stuff you guys are putting in it. But what's really cool with Nutcase, and this kind of happened unintentionally when once we did the nutrition facts, we didn't realize how much potassium would actually come out of the cashews and the dates and whatnot. So we actually ended up with a drink that has way more potassium than coconut water, way more than a banana. So for especially like cardio or endurance type workouts where you're sweating a lot, it's actually incredible for recovery and rehydration. So that's been one thing that we're messaging a lot more. I know when Vita Coco came out, their whole like claim to fame, they had like billboards being just like more potassium than a banana or whatever. I was like joking. I was like, I guess our billboards would be like more potassium than Vita Coco. But obviously we'd get sued for that. But yeah, it's also really good for, post whatever your sports game, pickleball, I don't know, whatever you're into these days. It's also a really cool treat after that.
I love it. And the workaround, by the way, is just saying more potassium and then put a picture of a vitamin and a coconut.
Yeah,
people
you're leading coconut water.
I love it. Well, listen, we're almost at the time here, so I got to ask you this last question. We created this podcast with the idea that being a 1%er is not about being a billionaire, but more so it is a way of life. It is how do you show up to do extraordinary things that maybe 99% of the people aren't doing. And so we like to ask every founder, entrepreneur, business owner, anyone who's doing something really amazing on here, what your specific version of a 1% lifestyle is. So
to me, the biggest thing is to go after whatever it is you want to do in life. So don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. Don't let anybody stop you. And this is kind of a slogan we use, like, go crazy, be yourself, be a nutcase. Like, you don't want to regret not having tried something because of you're afraid of something, you're afraid of judgment or whatever. Just fucking go for it. Yeah.
I love it. That's it.
That's the tagline right there, Joe. Just fucking go for it.
Yes.
I love it.
Nike's got just do it. She's got just fucking go for it.
Yeah.
That's better. That's 2020.
Yeah, I think hers is better.
No.
So, Joe, usually this is where we ask you how people can find you, but Shane got too excited for your nut milk and ruined the sequence here. But please feel free, if there's any other platforms, if there's anything people should or could do to connect with you, or I think you mentioned having investors, like, now's the time. Please let people know how can they get involved with you, your company, get your product, etc.
Yeah, so I mean, the one thing I briefly mentioned is that we will actually in May be opening up a round of equity crowdfunding along with this show on X, which is a really cool opportunity that we're really stoked about. So if you follow us, whether it's on Instagram at Drink Nutcase or just go on our website, sign up for the newsletter. If you want to, be first to know when that goes live, that's also going to be really cool for, the public to be able to invest alongside the ninjas and Aokis and Helmuths and the high power VCs and this kind of stuff. So that's probably, try the milk. And then if you love it and you want to kind of join the Nutcase crew, that opportunity is actually coming up.
I also love that, you just said join the Nutcase crew, because as a psychotherapist, I could probably say I've worked with a few nutcases. And they weren't as silky or chocolatey as this one, so this is a different feel for me. But
I love it.
It sounds really great. So, Joe, stick around for a minute after the show. We got another thing or two to talk to you about. But thank you so much for joining us, sharing your mission, sharing your company, and to all our listeners, you guys heard it. You might get an opportunity to invest alongside some of the biggest names in today's world. You could potentially. Well, I don't know if I want to tell people you could potentially make a massive upside, but that's the goal with investing.
Yeah, no,
right?
we don't want to get in trouble.
Can't do that.
There's probably some disclaimer language I have to add at the bottom now, but yeah.
This is not financial advice, so that should cover us from everything. But check it out. Go buy some Nutcase. Get a drink for yourself and your kids, and follow the story. Be a part of Joe's community. It sounds like it's going to be a worthwhile community. And as always, thanks a lot for listening to us. Please like, share, subscribe, follow, comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you tried Nutcase or not. We're curious, and we'll forward those comments to Joe. And as always, I'm your host, Vin, and
I'm Shane.
that was Joe. See you later, everybody.
Bye, guys.